Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Erica. I am a mother of four, a NICU nurse, and I am a wife. So, right now I'm waiting outside of my son's school. He gets out of school at 2:45 and it's 2:06 right now. So I just thought I would do a little car chat and kind of catch you up on life lately. So where do I start? So I am on this is week 14 for me of my 16-week program. So that means I have two more shifts left with my preceptor one-on-one. And then after that, for week 15 and 16, um, we have our PTL days, which is a personal team leader day, which basically means that me and one other new grad or maybe two other new grads, instead of having a one-to-one preceptor like we have been this entire time, let's say if there's three new grads, we will all share one preceptor. So we're even more so on our own than what we have been, and the preceptor basically just rounds, or I believe they have a personal phone, so if we need them and they're not in the room with us, we can call them and they can come over to assist us, if we need help placing IVs or doing any kind of labs, or even to feed the baby if we just need more time to chart, anything like that. They are basically supposed to be there available to us, assuming another new grad doesn't need them at that very moment. So we will do that in the next 2 weeks. But like I said, so I have two more shifts with my preceptor. And then we are on our own. We're supposed to stay on day shift for another 16 weeks, but I know that the cohort before us, they went to night shift sooner than the 16 weeks because they were short-staffed on nights, so they had to go early. So I don't know if that's going to be the same for us or not, or if we're going to get the full 16 weeks. If we do get the full 16 weeks, I'm not supposed to go until I think like the week of Christmas, either the week of Christmas or like the week before Christmas, is when I should transition to nights. So we'll see how that goes, because I'm supposed to be working New Year's Eve. Yes, New Year's Eve. So I would go in New Year's Eve at 7 p.m. and then I would get off of work at 7 a.m., which would then, not New Year's, sorry, Christmas Eve. Yes. Christmas Eve, I'm supposed to go in 7 p.m. and I'll get off at 7 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. And yeah. But anyways, so what has been going on in the NICU? A lot. I've been taking most of the assignments. I don't want to say by myself, because of course my preceptor is there, but I've been basically taking on majority of the work by myself, as if I was by myself. And then if I need help, I ask my preceptor, or if I have a question, he or she is there. But I've just been trying to do everything myself to just get in the flow of things. I've been doing my own charting, doing all of the cares myself. So in the NICU, cares are basically your patient interactions. So when you're in the NICU, the most important thing is for a baby to sleep, pretty much, because when you sleep, you grow. Usually babies in the NICU are preemie or have, obviously something like really going on with them. There are cases where they're just feeder grower babies, and That just means they're there because they're working on taking in more of their feedings. And once they reach, let's say, 80% of their feedings, um, then they're able to, go back home with mom and dad. But that's not always the case. So for the other babies, it is extremely important that they get as much sleep as possible, because let's say they're preemies, they should technically still be in mom's belly. So they should not really be having any kind of like outside contact with anything. They should be in this perfect, warm, bubble, um, the sac floating around in amniotic fluid, and that should be their home. But because they're no longer in mommy's belly, they are in their either isolette, or they're in their crib, in their whatever it is. So it's really important that you're not constantly touching them, waking them up, um, just doing whatever at random times. So for us, usually um, our care times are either every 3 hours or every 4 hours, depending on the baby. Um, Normally they're every 3 hours. So during that care time, let's say the baby is scheduled for an 8 a.m. care time. At 8 a.m., do your first initial assessment. You give the baby all the medications that it needs. You do the feedings. You change their diaper. You re-wrap them up. You swaddle them. You change whatever position that they're in, and you do all of that within, you know, um, let's say like 30 minutes, an hour. So that way your baby is back to sleep and has at least 2 solid hours where they are back to sleep and they are growing and they are not being touched and they're not being overstimulated. And so, yeah, where was I going with this? Okay, so like I said, I've been doing all of the cares myself. Um, so that's been really uh, helpful, because it really helps with my time management, because like I said, you only really want to touch the baby once. So if you need to check IVs, you need to make sure that you have your supplies in order to check that. If the baby has an NG tube, you need to make sure once again that you have the supplies necessary to check that. You don't want to be unwrapping the baby, going over to them, and then, oh, I forgot this. You leave, you go grab whatever you need, you come back. You move on to the next thing that you need to check. Oh, I forgot this too. So then you leave it again. You don't want to continue to do that. So me doing this by myself has really forced me to, analyze everything that my baby has going on ahead of time, in order to grab all of my necessary supplies, bring them bedside, and knock out everything that I need to do all at one time. So that way I'm, interacting with the baby less, but also I'm not falling behind, um, spending so much time on one baby when I also need to chart and move on to my other baby. So, um, like I said, I really enjoy having more freedom to do that by myself now, but it's still very nice to have my preceptor there, so that way when I do have a question, or if I'm just like, sometimes I just want a little bit of reassurance. Like, I know which order I'm supposed to do things, or I know the supplies that I do need, but I like saying, hey, just to make sure this is all I need, right? Or just to make sure, this is the way that I do it. And so they're not, necessarily correcting me, or um, telling me the way that I'm supposed to do it. They're just affirming the things that I already know. And so that's really nice because when I'm on my own, I'm not going to have that. Yeah, there's going to be other nurses in the room, but of course they're doing their own thing. I can, of course, ask people for help, but having to pause to ask somebody else for help just really slows down what you need to do for the day. And some days are slower than others, but I know it's not always going to be like that. And um, just because I'm new doesn't mean I'm always going to get the easier list. So I went on my first transport, and that was exciting. When I started the program, they had mentioned, this is a transport team, this is so and so. If you're interested in doing transports, like, this is the person to talk to. And I just kind of said, yeah, okay, sure, because in my mind, doing a transport, I don't know what I was thinking. It just, I don't know. I had no interest in it at the time. And so now going on my first transport, this one was just ground. They also have the air transports, which is with helicopter. So this one was ground transport with an ambulance. And I really enjoyed it. It was a really cool experience. I really enjoyed the people that I went on the transport with. Luckily, the baby was not of high acuity. So it was a pretty straightforward transfer, picking up the baby from the hospital, bringing it back to our hospital, and then going through the admission process of giving handoff to the nurse who was then going to be taking care of the baby. But it was like really interesting, and I'm I don't know, I'm really surprised how much I liked it. I had kind of been putting off going on a transport for I don't know what reason. Um, but then my preceptor basically told me there's transport, you're going, which is fine. And luckily, it, worked out great because, like I said, I did really like the people that I went on the transport with, and I liked the experience, and I liked the knowledge that I got. So that is something interesting and something I think really cool to look into in the future once I've done my time. And I think that's really something that I could work towards. I also had a TL5 TL3 day, and that's basically where you go to deliveries or you're in the tiny baby unit. I spent most of my time in deliveries, and we were in what's called an infant resuscitation room. And so in this room, it's connected to the OR, so they're doing the C-sections, and once the baby comes out, we are there waiting to get the baby and do our workup on the baby. So that was really interesting, and I thought that was very cool. I've had, my own babies, and everything was perfectly fine. And so to see these deliveries where the babies needed to be stimulated a little bit, the babies weren't breathing, um, it was a really cool and exciting experience. Two of the babies were perfectly fine and went back home with mom and dad. Another one we did end up admitting into the NICU, but it was just a really interesting from the second we get the baby, doing their APGAR scores, stimulating the baby, warming the baby, rubbing the back, giving oxygen, doing all of these interventions to get the baby to breathe, to get the baby to, be stable enough to go back home with mom and dad. So I also really enjoyed that, and that is also, another thing that I can work towards doing. There's a lot of stuff. There is so many things that you can do as a NICU nurse that are just really cool and really interesting, and I really love that about the NICU because I mean, I knew adults was not for me, but I mean, I was a little bit worried that going into the NICU that I would feel restricted because all we have are babies. As to where if you're when you're with adults, there are so many different specialties that are part of adults. Adults have so many units that you can go into, but NICU is, the NICU. Everything basically happens in house. And so I was a little bit worried that I would feel kind of unfulfilled being a NICU nurse. Like I said, I knew I wanted to work with babies, but I wasn't sure all that it would entail and all that it would offer me. Um, so to now see these other things that I can do, I think is really exciting. Um, I do plan to go back for my degree. I don't know. I don't know what I plan to do it for. Um, Part of me doesn't think I want to be an NP, but obviously it's way too soon to tell because that could 100% change as I go further along in this journey. Um, so we'll see. So, anyways, now that I'm like towards the end of my 16 weeks, I finally have more time. We started doing our 312s, which has been, oh my gosh, amazing. I did not realize how much time I did not have. I mean, I knew that I had no time for anything at home, really. Um, like chores wise, I 100% made time for my kids. When I was off work, I was with the kids, and I always made that a priority. But because of that, the chores definitely were at the very bottom of my priority list, which is fine. I mean, the chores will get done whenever they're done, but me spending time with my kids, I'm not going to get that back. So anytime that I was not working, we were at Disneyland with the kids, or we were out doing stuff, or just hanging out at home, spending time with my husband, us catching up on our shows, um, and so on. And so now that I finally have the 3 days of work, I feel like just a whole new person, and it is so nice. I was telling one of my friends who is going to start the residency, just definitely those first 3-4 weeks, I was exhausted. Not physically exhausted, but just, I've been a stay-at-home mom since what? March 2019, and then I was in school for a while, but basically I was able to set my own schedule, and there was nowhere I really had to wake up and be other than maybe taking the kids to school. So having to be somewhere 5 days a week for 3-4 weeks was definitely rough. 8-hour days are just not it for me. I knew that from the get-go, which is why I definitely wanted to be a nurse. I know that 8-hour days, 5 days a week are just, they're not it. They're not it for me. And so this last week, I think I did. These last 2 weeks, I've been doing my 3 days in a row. And so I've had more time off because of that. And it has been so nice. Like this, I work tomorrow, but I worked Sunday, and then I was off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And 2 of my kids are in school. So then I was like, what do I do with all this freedom? Like, I feel like I have so much time on my hands now. And so I went to the gym. The other 2 went to the gym daycare. And so I slept in until 6 because usually when my husband was home, because he was on his paternity leave for this past like 14 weeks, which has been really nice. But I was going to the gym at like 4 a.m. And then when I was working, I was waking up at 3:30 to go to the gym at 4 a.m., getting ready and going to work. And so for this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, my husband started going back to work. And so for me, I can't go to the gym that early. So because of that, I was able to sleep in until 6 o'clock. And it has been so great. I feel just like a completely different person. And I'm just like, this is so nice. And I totally understand now why some nurses are like, I'm good with my 3 days and that's it. 'Cause I remember asking them, like, do you pick up shifts? Do you work at a different hospital? Because I do know some nurses do per diem at like other hospitals. And so a lot of the people that I was asking were like, no, I do my 3 days and then I'm done. I go home, I relax, I do whatever. Um, and I just thought, really? Why? Like, you have, 4 days off that you could do, another shift or whatever. And now I'm like, just having 3 days off in a row has been a dream. It has been so nice. So, anyways, it has just been really nice to be on a normal 3-day, 12-hour shift schedule and have the other days to myself. I did so much laundry today and I did so much cleaning and I feel so completely accomplished, and it was so great. But anyways, I just wanted to update you on everything that I've been doing so far with the NICU and how my program has been going. I really cannot believe that we are already, 2 weeks away from the end. It really flew by, which I'm so thankful for. I wish it was longer, but I'm also so ready to be on my own. So I can't wait to come back and update you and tell you how things are going once I am officially on my own. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, I hope that you would give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.